Tim Dieng says, let's go, and Gary Colwell takes him seriously. Also, Matt J gets confused when asked if he wants to live in Grays. Hello, and welcome to the Big Bang Theory podcast. My name's John. I'm here with my friend and colleague Dan.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, it's been quite a week, Dan.
Fair bits happened, doesn't it, since we last recorded?
It
That was
has.
2 weeks ago, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago.
A week off.
We had a week off, and Colwell used the time to move some people on, or they moved themselves on.
Yeah.
Bring a person in, and bore us all with a boring draw. That then wasn't boring.
Well, it was boring for the majority of it.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, so a bit of a... Well, everyone's moved on now because it feels like it's ages ago, but a bit of a sad moment.
It was emotional, wasn't it?
The City is... Little Matt J says goodbye to us all. Been there since he was 8.
Yeah.
8 years old. And now he's, what, 30? 28?
28? Something like that.
Anyway,
Doesn't matter anymore.
Call you.
Yeah, he's gone to Call You. That's League 2, which obviously he did very well in last year and other years.
Yeah. He's not been a huge part of the... I mean, he's been a kind of fringe player for this season.
Definitely that.
And perhaps...
Well, there have been moments of fringe throughout, haven't there?
Yeah. I mean, it was really kind of 2 seasons, wasn't it, of him being the kind of main guy.
Yeah.
One especially, the lockdown season or whatever. And, yeah, off he goes.
It was emotional. He was obviously quite emotional about it.
He did a really long video, which I watched all of on the Exeter City YouTube. And he was obviously a bit cut up about it, wasn't he? I don't think he really wanted to go, but...
I think he suspected he wasn't going to get the contract he needed.
Well, I think it was probably that, wasn't it? So his contract was up at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I think he was offered... Maybe it was offered a new contract, but with a different kind of...
Yeah.
On a different band.
Yeah, or with a different length.
Yeah, a different length, and probably with kind of the information that he wasn't going to be playing that much.
So we took the transfer fee.
Yeah.
And he's gone to Essex.
We don't know how much it is, do we? They never really say. But
the old undisclosed.
Yeah. I can't imagine it'd be a huge amount.
I might start trying that, like, you know...
What, when your wife asks you how much those trainers cost, and you say, oh...
Undisclosed.
Undisclosed fee.
Yeah, that's right. Or, you know, the waiter comes over and I say, I'd like this bill to be undisclosed.
Yeah, and he goes, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work in my favour. Yeah. But he's gone, and...
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously he's been a big part of Exeter City for the last 5 years or so. Longer, really, but that's when he kind of forced himself into the first team.
Yeah.
As it was. And he was always that player, wasn't he, that Paul Tisdale would say he's, you know, the most talented player he's ever seen.
Yeah.
But for some reason, didn't really put him in the team, did he?
No.
But Matt Taylor was a big fan of his.
Yeah.
When he took over, it was like kind of like, oh, this is a good sign for Matt J because Taylor really likes him.
Became captain after Jake Taylor left.
Yeah. And then, obviously, he scored the goal that got us promoted.
He did indeed.
Which I thought was his last goal for us, but actually he scored 2 this season. They just kind of I don't think either of them were in the league.
One was Oxford in that cup thrashing, wasn't it? So there he goes. We may not see him again at St James's Park.
We might do.
We might do. Obviously, Colchester United aren't exactly tearing up the league.
No, they're right down the bottom, aren't they, or something? But
they're not doing especially well.
But they've now signed a few new players and stuff, so maybe they're... And they did win at the weekend.
And he played at the weekend, came on as a sub.
Yeah.
And then the second departure, and this was different, was old Timothy Dieng.
Yeah, Timothy. Off he goes.
He didn't do a let's go to the camera at his new club, which is Gillingham. But he's...
Did he not?
No.
I wonder if he's going to leave that here. Leave that as a Devon thing, you know?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe he didn't want it anymore.
I mean, I'm sick of hearing it.
Like when you move house.
You know, he sort of said it too many times, didn't he, really?
You know when you're leaving a house and you really can't be bothered to carry the rowing boat through the house and get it in the van, so you just leave it there and then that house just has a rowing boat now. Someone else has got to look after it at Exeter City.
I think I know what you mean. I once moved out of a rental house, and when we moved in, we sort of dismantled this. A mate I was sharing with dismantled this kind of desk, and it's one of those kind of glass top desks with like metal legs and stuff, and it's a palaver to get it apart.
Yeah,
we got it all apart. We put it in the loft. Year later, we moved out, or whatever, and then we were like, gone. We're like, okay, cool, we've done everything. Cheers, see you later. And they were like, oh, you need to put that desk back. And we were like, oh, you're joking. Like, it's in the loft. So we got it all down.
Yeah.
And we got it all out, and we were like, oh, I didn't think about this when we dismantled it. Like, we didn't, anticipate how annoying this would be. So we just kind of all balanced it all back together. Really heavy glass top thing. So whoever moved in there next, I hope that didn't smash down on your ankles.
Yeah, right. Sounds like it may have. Yes, it was a bit like that. So Gabe Billington, in a couple of years, will have to go up to the loft of St James Park and get out the "Let's go" thing.
Yeah.
Start saying it.
Yeah, maybe it'd be Gabe, or maybe next time we bring a Frenchman in, maybe it'll be.
Maybe
they'll take that on and go like, "Oh, this went down well, didn't it, with the last Frenchie?" I don't know. Anyway,
we don't know.
Gone.
He's gone.
So I think what happened there was was he out of the contract at the end of the season?
Yes.
No, well he wasn't, was he?
Oh no, that's right.
No, he had he is contracted, I think, for another year or so, but he had a release clause.
Yeah.
With Gillingham, who are now
rich.
Yeah. Beyond their wildest dreams.
Yeah.
Activated.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of up to Tim what he did, and he decided to go.
Do you think Gillingham... You know that episode of The Simpsons where Milhouse changes his name on the arcade machine to Thrill House?
Yeah.
Do you think that's how Gillingham feel now? Like, Thrillingham.
Yeah,
We've got the cash.
Maybe. But they are actually bottom of League Two, aren't they?
They are, yes.
But
maybe they're working their way out.
Yeah, so I'm guessing they're offering more money and probably...
Let's go up
more,
the league, says
yeah.
Dieng. And they're like, leave it, Tim.
Stop it.
That's in your contract, mate.
And someone said maybe his family was still in the southeast.
Right. Of France?
No.
Oh.
But anyway. Yeah, so I don't think we would have...
Well, Colwell said he wanted... Colwell obviously was like, Matt Jay's been a brilliant servant to the club kind of speech. But he didn't say like we were desperate for him to stay. Whereas with Dieng, he's like, we would have liked him to stay. But once the release clause is offered, nothing. It's up to Tim.
Yeah, well, that's literally nothing we could do about that one. Yeah, but so it's not. I mean, it's two squad players.
Yeah,
useful ones.
Yeah,
that we did use.
Yes.
Both have started matches in the last handful of games. Even they're both big parts of the squad, even if they're not kind of like best 11 starting players.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But they do need to be replaced, don't they?
So it leaves the
midfield already a bit
light.
short. The squad was already a bit thin anyway.
Yeah. And those are they're two useful people that you'd bring off the bench.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
They're both. Dieng had been used in. We'd stuck him in right centre back a couple of times.
Yep.
Obviously, he was good in the air.
Yeah.
Good few goals for us last season.
Absolutely.
A couple this year, and same with Matt Jay. We had a couple of really good games this season.
Yeah.
It showed how useful he could be as a squad player, even if he wasn't going to be starting every week. Like he did. But it's not the end of the world.
No, well, like we said, they did really well in League Two. They've obviously gone back to League Two. Our bigger concern now is if our better players get picked off by...
That's the main concern. We don't want anyone with the actual kind of first choice lot to go.
No.
And also...
We do
need to replace them with some people. And we did add one new player.
Joe White.
Young Joe White. For some reason I just kept thinking he's got such a kind of like pedestrian name, innit? Joe White. It's just like, I couldn't remember what he was called for ages. I think he's called Al. Is he called Al something? But I'll get it in my head now, Joe White, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now I see him play, I think I'll remember it a bit more.
So he's come from Newcastle.
Yeah. So Caldwell used to be a part
he was
of
the under-23s coach, wasn't he?
Yeah, so he knows him from those days.
Yeah.
And was like, yeah, he's good. Trust me, he's good.
He was at Hartlepool last season, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Who were League Two with us.
He's only 20, isn't he? So
yes.
Yeah.
And
But he's just signed a new 5-year deal with Newcastle, which I
Right.
think's a good sign because obviously they're rich beyond their wildest dream, but beyond, as well. So
yes.
and they wouldn't just be signing on any old chump for a 5-year contract, I suppose.
No, they wouldn't. So so that's our business so far.
Yeah,
And
I think we can expect a few more. Gary said he's that some more.
I got a hot
some more
tip.
coming.
There's a transfer coming this week.
Oh, okay, good.
But let's see. So that's that's what's come in and what's gone out. Who you might say. And then we had Joe White, and we were missing these two lads for this Saturday, Forest Green at home.
Yeah, so we've taken on bottom of the league, Forest Green at home.
Wearing another new shirt.
Yeah,
How many shirts have they
they're
got?
just about kits, aren't they? Really, I think so the main thing they're concerned with is just having a kit.
I don't know why, if you were a team that wore green, you'd get a dark blue second or third or fourth kit, but whatever. It's not my responsibility. You sort yourselves out, you morons.
Yeah, Dale Vince has spent too much time at the computer.
I think what really annoys me about Forest Green, I was trying to think about this, because I approve of many of the stances they've taken, on a personal level. But I think what really annoys me is their supporters generally, because obviously they're kind of a new club, even though they've been a village team for years. Loads of them are Bristol people who kind of think themselves too good to support Bristol City or Bristol Rovers, and a bit too aloof from we're not like that.
Yeah.
But they're also really internet literate. So the internet's full of hipsters trying to explain themselves. And I think, get lost. I think that really gets to me. I think their social media presence, given that they can bring about 50 to a team 2 hours down the road, really annoys me.
Like a lot of things in modern society.
Yes.
A lot of these places that are kind of really cool or kind of hipstery kind of vibes, is very cringy, isn't it? Do you mean? And Forest Green are a bit like the football team equivalent of one of those really kind of hipstery cafes where it's everything's all the prices are just 2.5, instead of 2.50, and
no pound sign.
No pound sign, and your coffee's in a glass.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't mind them really, as long as it's good.
You're talking about the cafe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Forest Green are crap.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's difficult to get on board with, even though, like I said, yeah, some of the stuff they do is it's good stuff, and same with the guy really, Dale Vince. It's you might agree with some of the stuff he says and does, but I mean, look at him.
Well, yeah.
I'd be so embarrassed. He looks like a twat.
On one hand, you've got Saudi Arabia owning a football club, and you're they're awful. I mean, that's an awful setup, what that country's about. And on the other hand, you've got this guy who's giving all his money away and wants to use green energy for everything. And yet I find myself liking the Saudis more than I like him.
I know.
That's not good, is it?
I know.
Weird. Anyway, there they were.
Yeah. So
they already had my wrath.
And it's already kind of the alarm bells are ringing a bit because we haven't really done that well at home against teams who aren't doing very well.
No, that's right.
Cheltenham, Burton.
Yeah.
And
then up steps these lot.
And then bottom of the village green league, Forest Green.
Yeah.
Minus 29 goals or something.
Yeah.
Rock bottom of the league. I'm worried. And I was right to be.
So first half was absolute non-event, wasn't it? So, like we said, Matt Jay's been used quite a lot this season.
Yeah.
Giovanni's taken a knock in the last game.
Yeah, you might remember he went off early in that last game.
That's right.
And I don't think he's trained a huge amount since, so he starts on the bench.
And Josh Key is sitting in what's almost certainly we would call the Matt Jay role.
Obviously there's circumstances around this, given that Matt Jay left and Dieng left as well. Maybe there's some other configuration that would have been possible if that hadn't happened. But Josh Key in the number 10, I'd mark that down as a failed experiment, wouldn't you?
I'd put that up there with flying cars and...
I'm a big fan of Josh Key. In fact, I go so far as to say I love him.
Yeah.
But he really only does the one thing, doesn't he? Which is just kind of boot it down. I don't mean boot it literally, run down the wing with the ball at his feet.
Yeah, and when he's in a corner, he can then use the time that gives him
Yeah,
to go past someone.
yeah, he can go past people, and he puts in some good crosses.
Yes.
When he's doing that, he's an extremely useful player. He's one of those players where you don't. Has he ever really got control of the ball? You know, or is it just kind of bouncing off him, and he's got a lot of speed? It's probably a bit harsh, but he's not that guy.
He's not. He can't sit there. He's
Travel
not Giovanni.
with the ball, get in between, like break the lines, and kind of like give the ball, receive, pick a pass, dribble past players.
No.
Like in a confined area, it's not his game.
No. Also, not in our favour on Saturday was Archie Collins wasn't having a good game at all. Couldn't seem to make any passes. Couldn't seem to control it. Didn't seem to be stood in the right place. And Harry Kite looked like he didn't want to make the passes or didn't want to receive the ball.
I thought both of them weren't really showing for the ball, and that was again why we struggled to kind of like. This is until the substitutions that come later. We struggled to break those lines, and we were really. It was just nothing happening, and it was boring. And Stano and Nombe up front didn't barely get a touch. I mean, Nombe tried really hard to kind of hustle up there,
as he does,
but they didn't get any service. I don't think we had one shot from distance from somebody.
Collins or Kite, wasn't it?
Or
Sparks, yeah.
One of them, and that was about it for the first half.
Yeah.
Forest Green.
Blackman didn't have any saves to make.
Forest Green were not good.
No. They were missing quite a lot of players as well, weren't they?
No, were they? Because they just bought. They had 4 new players making their debut.
I suppose it's worth some of their regulars weren't starting, so maybe that was partly injuries and partly new players.
Yeah.
But anyway,
some of them have left,
they didn't look like they had much about them. And I even said to our friend who we stand with, "Well, we're not going to lose this."
Yeah, well, we nearly did.
We nearly did. So second half, they managed to get a goal.
Well, you think in the second half we'd.
I think Caldwell will get hold of them.
Well, this is what he said. He said, like, we looked flat in the first half, and he thought half time would be a good chance to go, like, right, come on, like, get your heads in this, like. And then they were the ones that came out kind of with a bit more, energy.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Good. So they go ahead with about half an hour to go, don't they? And it's a breakaway goal, and everyone looked sloppy.
Yeah,
no one really got
there.
It's
sloppy. It's bad marking in the box. It's a poor goal to give away.
Very disappointing. So then he makes some changes, thank goodness.
Yeah, and he did say, to be fair to Gary in the interview, that with hindsight he should have made some changes at half time, and he should have done. And I was a little surprised to see the same team that came out in the second half. And I assume maybe it's possibly this is just like because the bench isn't quite got the fitness that we need. But so he didn't change anything at half time, and it led to that goal.
In his favour, I suppose you'd think these players are capable of playing much better. Forest Green aren't showing much.
Yeah.
If I give them an earful, maybe we'll get something from this lot, and then with half an hour to go, I'll make the changes.
I think that's completely fair enough.
Anyway, it didn't work at that point. We conceded. He makes the changes. Giovanni comes on for Stano. Correct?
No.
Giovanni comes and plays in the Josh Key position.
Giovanni comes on for Jack Sparks.
Goes off. Josh Key goes to where Jack Sparks had been,
so Sparks it doesn't change with Caprice. That's actually worth pointing out that he kept Caprice on the right and put Key on the left wing back, and then it was Archie Collins that came off for Giovanni. For Joe White. For Joe White,
whose name you've forgotten again.
Again, I've forgotten Joe White's name.
Very thin head, Joe White.
Yeah, he has. Yeah,
which I like.
Yeah,
I like everything about him.
Well, I do now. Now I've seen him play.
Turns out...
What was I going to say? Something about... it's having brown and white at the same time is good for once.
Never usually aesthetically pleasing.
I don't mean that. I sort of, Don't worry. I think it's a bit of a... I think it's a poor reference.
Okay.
Not many people will get. Maybe Gary Caldwell will get it.
If you get it...
He's Scottish.
Let us know. So...
Dangerous combo, that, I'd say.
Well, straight away it works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So Giovanni's obviously not as injured as we feared. I mean, maybe he's just unfit.
He looks fine.
And then Joe White has got the feet of a absolute... He's somewhere between a mathematician and a ballet dancer.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like it was glued to his feet, the ball, didn't it?
It really did.
I mean, he looked great. And not just that. And I think...
he did kind of want the ball, something that Harry kind of didn't seem to want at all, and Collins couldn't or didn't want to. But like, he wanted to get the ball. He wanted to find space. He wanted to move in between the lines of midfield and the defence of Forest Green and make things happen. And it looked excellent. And it's kind of, I mean, we need more time to assess him, really. And there's probably big bits of his game missing because just of being young and inexperienced,
Yeah.
That's probably true. But as a cameo, it looked like he had things. He was capable of things and technique, which we haven't really seen a huge amount of in our time in League Two. Players with that level of kind of like quality on the ball.
Living fantastic.
It's like he danced past about 4 players in the box, and he had about a square metre of space. You know?
Yeah.
And then also he's got that thing which I can remember when we played West Brom, Chris Brunt having, when you see a player sometimes when a player drops down a few leagues but they're clearly kind of good quality, or like them when a bigger team comes to play in like a cup game or something, and you just see that their technique of hitting the ball is just different to most of the players you see week in, week out. And he kind of had a bit of that about him, like he kind of kicks it differently. Yeah. And it looks more like a kind of Premier League player, which, I mean, it kind of is,
Almost like a sand wedge, wasn't it? Like the way it was lifting off the ground.
Just great technique. Yeah. So I think it's just, and this was like, this is exciting. It's exciting.
I mean, Gary's done a good thing there.
Exciting player to have. Like I said, there might well be big things missing from his game in terms of like League Two football. Like
if he can come on and do that for 20 minutes when we need it, then that's marvellous.
Really encouraging. And that led to the goal, didn't it?
Well, the goal was chaos. So it's worth pointing out, and you'll know this.
No, I'm thinking of like Joe White's quick feet bit led to when we should have scored the second.
When we should have scored the second.
So we did equalise from this goal, right?
Yeah. So it's worth saying that at the beginning of the game, this is the same referee, by the way, who we had away at Cambridge in the second round of the FA Cup last season.
Yeah, the one who had to apologise to us.
The one who had to apologise to us. Well, he's clearly taken that apology on board by having a lobotomy, because for the first...
I mean, the whole game, it was utterly bizarre.
But the first half, he didn't kind of give anything. And you think like, well, okay, this might work. And sometimes that was a bit rough.
Well, we benefited from it, as well as Forest Green benefit. It wasn't like to anyone's kind of advantage.
No,
really.
I couldn't call him biased. It was just insane.
It was mad. He was not giving stuff which was clearly fouls and just letting them go. And this is like, there's a good shout that possibly Nombe could have, where a different referee got sent off for a slide he made and got booked for, but just insane.
But loads of other stuff, and then about 5 minutes in before the end of the first half, he starts blowing the whistle for everything. That kind of continues ad hoc into the second half, and it's just madness. So I can't remember it all because it was chaos. But the goal. We've got the ball in and around the box. We keep shooting, not shooting, getting saved, getting blocked.
Their player kind of falls on the ball, right?
Yes.
Some people are suggesting it's a handball. At the time, I thought it definitely was. Seeing the replay, I'm not totally convinced.
But he's definitely obstructing it.
He's definitely obstructing it, yeah. But anyway, the ball gets kind of dug out of there somehow by Nombe. It bounces back out. Josh Key then has to nutmeg the ref, who sort of weirdly just like a deer in the headlights, doesn't know how to get out of the way of it. So Josh Key sticks it between his legs.
In
by far the best thing Josh Key did in that game.
In fairness to the ref, he did open his legs wide to allow that to happen, but it was insane.
Anyway, then somehow it kind of like almost gets like the Forest Green defender tries to clear it. It bounces up straight to Giovanni Brown, and he whacks it in the far post.
1-1.
1-1.
With about 15 minutes to go.
And those two have made just the difference, haven't they, coming on?
Yes.
And it's led to a goal straight away.
Yes. Then Forest Green, they'd already started to do this, revert to absolute time wasting to the nth degree of insanity.
I know, and we're not, given Jamal Blackman's antics a couple of weeks ago, we can't get too preachy on time wasting, but I prefer the kind of shithousery kind of approach to time wasting that Blackman had, where he's just sort of holding onto the ball too long and stuff, rather than this like drop into the floor every 5 seconds.
The thing about Blackman and other players who like kick the ball away is the ref sees what happens. The player's essentially playing cat and mouse with the ref. How far can I push this? And then eventually you usually get booked, and then you kind of have to speed up, or you push it almost too far but never too far and get away with it. Whereas when you just complain about cramp constantly, it's just mental. And
Well, the injury one's probably better, isn't it? Because it's sort of like the old, you can't prove it.
fine.
You know, like when someone wants to get signed off for work.
Yes.
I
can't come in today. I'm feeling awful.
No, but you don't say that. If you want to get properly signed off work, I mean, this is what you do nowadays. There's probably more modern ways of doing this, but in the old days, you go like, "Oh, I got a bad back," because no one can prove that you haven't got a bad back.
Yeah.
Like, even doctors are marveling at there's nothing wrong with him, but he says his back hurts, and there's nothing I can say to say it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that, isn't it? You know,
A bit.
But
Except-
it was interesting that the guy who was down with cramp for ages and stuff never even got subbed off.
No, that's right.
Even after they made, I know it's like they were doing it a lot, but you know.
But here's my point.
But I don't blame Forest Green for doing that as
No.
much as it's kind of like, this is
It's annoying.
pathetic and annoying. The ref's got to do something about it.
Well, he's got a tool in his arsenal, which is you add the time on. And
Yeah,
then
which he absolutely
gave us,
didn't.
He gave us 5 minutes.
Yeah, I saw someone do a bit of the maths of this on X Web, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but like there's a lot of
Well,
subs.
you get 30 seconds per sub.
There's a
don't
lot
you?
of substitutions. Bear in mind, there's
And a minute
5
per
subs
goal.
in a each per team, and none were made in the first half. So there was a lot of subs.
Yeah.
There was 2 goals.
Yeah. So that's fine.
So he basically didn't add on anything for the time wasting.
No, that's right. So you think like that's madness.
Despite sort of pointing at his watch when he went, because obviously the big bank, etc., was sort of letting their dissatisfaction be known when all these players were like lying on the floor with cramp all the time, and he was sort of like pointing at the watch, like I'm going to add the time on, and then he just didn't.
He just didn't.
But I don't think we should necessarily complain because we were so bad
Well, that's
for
what's
the first
frustrating.
60 minutes.
Yes.
That we've only got ourselves to blame for not winning that game.
So we then have a final chance to win the game. And again, it's chaos.
This is like Joe White's quick feet.
Joe
bit,
White's
innit?
quick feet. Josh Key hits the bar.
It
from
bounces to Josh Key.
half a yard away.
He's 2 yards out if at best, and he's got completely open goal, and someone manages to hit the bar.
Yeah.
Jay
Stansfield.
Then Stansfield
No.
shot is saved. Is that right? Yeah. Stansfield again has a kind of point blank effort, and that's saved. Stansfield also had an earlier chance with a header that kind of was just a little bit too high for him, and he
Yes.
bounced it off his newly bleached bonds.
Yes. So we had the chances, and we certainly had the time, as in an hour of not playing, to win the thing. And yet,
why
we
give
came away with a point.
And it's frustrating because why give yourself 30 minutes to win a match from
1-0 down.
1-0 down when you could have just used the 90 minutes to beat a poor side.
What's very frustrating, if you look at the league, we'll do this in a bit, but a win would have put us up to 8th.
Yeah. Well, again, so we got a point out of that game, and that's fine. We didn't lose. Still 10th. It's like nothing you do nothing you do in this league gets punished.
Everyone's having a chaotic season, except for maybe the top 3. But that's really we don't get many chances to push for playoffs in League One. You know, in the history of our club, there've not been many chances.
I remember a year.
I also remember a year, but there haven't been many.
No.
Maybe 4 years in our entire history. This being number 5. We got to do better than that, lads. We just have. It was weak.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough. So it was an action-packed week. There's another action-packed week coming up. More of that in a second. Welcome back to the Big Bank Theory podcast. Remember, you can email us, bigbankpod@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter @BigBankPod or on Facebook as well, the Big Bank Theory podcast. It's a bumper week coming up, Dan. 2 games.
Yes.
Lots of
Tuesday
people
nighter.
Tuesday nighter. So this Saturday, lots of people going away to Fratton Park,
Yep.
to Portsmouth. We only just played them on Boxing Day.
Yep.
Things aren't going very well for them. I think they sit in 15th, and they've sacked the Cowley brothers.
They have. That was shortly after we played them, wasn't it?
Yes.
Not immediately, but they're gone.
Danny and the other one whose name we still can't remember.
Yeah.
Nicky.
Paul.
They've gone. They've got in Shirley's son, Simon Bassey, as a
right.
temporary,
That's Shirley Bassey's son, is it?
presumably.
Wow.
Yeah. He's got a gold
Fantastic.
finger.
I hope he RESPCT's the club's tradition.
Isn't that Aretha Franklin? Yeah. The club's tradition being that stupid bell that's always ringing.
Yeah.
Um,
You can ring my bell.
you
Is
might
that
recall.
Is that Shirley Bassey?
You can drive my car.
Yeah.
Shirley Bassey. Anyway, Bassey's in charge. And, obviously 0-0 was quite a good result for us in the midst of a bad run of kind of big clubs. But, yeah, they're well below us in the league.
I was just trying to remind myself of that game. It wasn't very long ago, but you know how it is. It was a 0-0. And
it's when Jamal kicked Harry Kite.
yeah, he also made quite a few good saves.
Yeah.
And our only real chance was from our erstwhile friend Matt J. at the near post.
Matt Gray. So, yeah, good to take so many people there, of course.
Yeah.
That's a full capacity away thing. I mean, a point would be great. A win would be even better against an out-of-form team.
Yeah.
They don't seem to be splashing the cash in the transfer window.
No, and I think the defence is pretty shoddy. So hopefully Giovanni is back to full fitness and starts. I think that'll be a good sign.
Yes. I mean, Josh Key presumably will go back to one of the wing-backs. Sparks a bit out of form, isn't he, I feel? So Key and Caprice are probably the starting. And then Sam Stubbs has been on the bench the last few games. Still not...
Yeah, Coldwell seemed to say that he seemed to be still... It was like the quote was he's still a long, long way off or something.
But he was on the pitch before the game.
I saw him warming up out there, kicking a ball around. So
Yeah.
hopefully he's just trying to temper people's expectations. But yeah, I don't know.
And then, of course, there's always the threat of someone coming in for one of our star players.
Yeah. Or maybe we may well have signed someone before the weekend. We may well have sold someone before the weekend. We might be signing someone right now.
You don't know about it, listener. Neither do we. Unless you are that player. If you're doing a bit of research on the football club and listening to our podcast and thinking, do I sign for them? My question to you is, are you any good?
Yeah.
And if you are, sign away.
He might be thinking, this is good, because if I play terribly, there's a good chance the host of this podcast will completely forget to even mention it and just talk about coconuts for half an hour instead.
You might be thinking, I hope no one mentions my fat head. Well, I'm afraid for you, pal. We probably will.
Yeah.
So
the shape of your head, it will probably be mentioned.
Yeah.
Does it look like a coconut? Combining two of our different, things we do.
Yeah. Let us know. Maybe you're once in the cause.
Oh yeah. I mean, we keep forgetting to bring up things that people actually quite like us talking about, like the cause.
Yeah.
They prefer it, I think, to the football chat we do.
By the way,
turns out Jim Core, one of those sort of like divorced dad conspiracy theory guys. Really into all that stuff.
Banned from Twitter, wasn't he?
Just loves it, all of that. But on the flip side, lots of people did know who Les Dawson was, which I suspected was true, considering my perception of who our listeners are.
Yeah.
Very much Les Dawson era types. And by all accounts, Les Dawson, top bloke.
Is that right?
A lot of people sort of assume he'd be a kind of bit problematic just due to kind of like, the kind of...
The era he was
alive in, and some of his contemporaries, Bernard Manning, people like that.
I mean, you're putting two larger fellas together there.
Well, they're similar kind of ballpark, but I think Dawson, good bloke, legend.
Okay.
Still a legend.
I can't believe we talked about the cause and didn't mention the other brother, former City violent striker Barry Core.
Yeah. He's not really... I think because he was more of a sportsman and less of a musician, wasn't he?
It wasn't on that topic. Anyway, we might buy someone. And then we got the Tuesday match, which is Barnsley at home. So Barnsley are in 5th or 6th at the minute.
Yeah, we did beat him at their place.
2-0. Jay Stansfield scored, didn't he? Maybe that was his first goal even.
Yeah, one of our best games this season, that one. Really good result, that.
Nice to have an evening.
Yeah, it's going to be cold out there. It's so cold now that I'm using one of those cardboard...
coffee
things
cup
that
holders.
goes round a coffee cup, which is supposed to keep your hand, ironically, supposed to keep your hand cool.
Yes.
When you're holding a hot coffee.
Yes.
But this microphone is so cold that I'm using it to kind of.
You're using the coffee cup holder.
Yeah. To warm it up.
Yeah.
It's working.
See, I'm hardcore, so I'm not using anything. Just metal.
My solution to being cold just seems to be cardboard. That's my,
Yeah. You should see his cardboard hat, listeners. It's quite the sight.
I sleep in a bed of cardboard. Cardboard frame, cardboard mattress, cardboard duvet.
Good. Fire risk, though, isn't it? And then Barnsley, managed by Michael Duff, formerly of Cheltenham, gave us a
Damien
hard time
Duff.
a couple of seasons ago when they went up and we didn't. Yeah. I mean, they're in a good vein of form. Obviously, they're a big club. They're the kind of team we should be looking to catch if we are going to make this playoff push, which I'd love to see us do.
I don't know where this has come from. I don't think we're making a playoff push.
Well, I just think it's perfectly manageable. We've got winnable games in front of us.
You saw how he played on Saturday.
Well, that's the problem. The problem is how
the
we're
problem
playing.
is how we play football. Yeah.
But on the plus side, the numbers do add up to some extent.
Yeah. I mean, I said it before, I think, but if we get to the end of the season, we're just sat in mid-table, I'll be absolutely delighted.
Of course, as will I. But I just think, well, look, Bristol Rovers are no better than us, and they're pushing for playoffs.
True.
Anyway, we'll see. But yeah, nice to have a 2-game week. So yeah, we'll be back after Barnsley. If we pick up 6 points or even 4 points against these two, oof.
We'll probably get good listenership if that happens, won't we?
That's what seems to happen.
Yeah.
Either that or a punch up amongst the players. That's what spikes the numbers.
Yeah, you love drama, don't you?
You listeners.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening to this drama-free episode of the Big Bang Theory podcast.
Really wish there was some drama.
Yeah, all we've
Best
got
drama
is...
ever was ref getting megged.
That was quite good.
Anything else happen around the ground or anything? There was nothing, was there? Really nothing.
Pitch looks amazing.
Pitch does look very
which isn't
good.
top news, but it does look amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. And it was another sellout, of course, except from those idiots from Forest Green.
Yeah, but that's good, isn't it? That we can sell out St James's Park, home fans, on like the 8th of January or whatever it was, or early January against Forest Green, and people still want to go to it.
Love it. Some people have been saying the ground's a bit quiet at the minute. I think that's probably true. I also think we're still trying to work out what our dynamic is post-Red Legion. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I don't really know what goes on with them lot in the middle there, but I thought it was pretty loud at times.
Yeah.
I mean, we're comparing it to last season when we were actually when we were like
winning everything,
flying high.
Yeah, that's the difference, isn't it?
And being entertained like non-stop.
Well,
so,
that last 20 minutes when the refs gone mental and
that helped us, I think.
No, I agree. It was really felt like an atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it? You're freezing cold. You stagger up there. You watch the first half of football where it's dire.
Well, I never want to complain too much about the atmosphere because I'm just not one of those people that's there singing every single song.
No, I mean, I'm not complaining. It's just an observation, really. It's
yeah,
people are making. But then also, I think when something's happening, we're going wild.
Yep.
I was slapping the old boy in front of me in the back. Realised what I was doing halfway through.
He likes it.
Seemed to. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. We like it when you do. We'll be back next week, probably Wednesday after Barnsley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name's John. I've been here with my friend and colleague Dan.
Cheers.
See you soon.